This is way worse than we thought. The Bengals lose at home against the Detroit Lions, falling to 2-3 on the season. We're going to break down the recap, what happened in the game, and why the Bengals see they have a lot to work on if they want to get back into any kind of playoff hopes for the 2025 season. Welcome to the jungle. This is Isaac Coffman with Bengals Digest. Happy to see you Bengals fans despite this tough loss at home against the Detroit Lions. If you want to get in on the discussion, be sure you are subscribed by smashing that subscribe button below. We want to hear your thoughts, your takes on this game and the season as a whole. How are you feeling overall? We'd love to hear it, so be sure you comment below and share your thoughts. Well, what can we say, Bengals fans? It's been a tough year. Joe Burrow going down really just kind of deflated any kind of enthusiasm for the season. It was a rough start, and any kind of hope that you're seeing about this season, it's just trending and going down and down with each week. Getting blown out by Minnesota Vikings, then Denver, and the Detroit Lions. I think it was no surprise. They were going to be a tough team, even at home. But if you watch this game, the eye test just does not give you confidence going forward. Just being frank, I mean, it's tough to watch this team. They are far from complete. They, at times, were sloppy when it came to this game against Detroit. It was just not pretty. Despite their sloppy play, they were actually in this game at one point. As crazy as that sounds, it felt like Detroit really had all the momentum going into this, and that goes without saying. They're a Super Bowl contending team. But the fact of the matter is the Bengals actually put up a pretty good fight compared to their last few weeks. You're talking, this was a team that was outscored 76-13 the last two games. The Minnesota and Denver game, they just looked lost. And they certainly looked lost against Detroit, but there was a little bit more of a positive improvement, if you want to say it that way. But this was just a rough game. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This was a rough showing for the Bengals. Final score, 37-24. And if you look at that, okay, it's a 13-point difference, but the Bengals did pull back within a couple scores, 11 points at one point. And an onside kick, they had an opportunity to recover. That could have possibly put them back in it within at least a score. But yeah, this game was all Detroit. You can't sit here and say, well, if they did this, if they did that. If one play or another like that went, they still would have been down. They still would have more than likely lost this game. But it's just frustrating. What else is there to say? As a Bengals fan, there's such high hopes going into the season with the talent that's on this team, despite the defense, the question marks. And I know you're probably saying, are you crazy looking at a 37-point game? The defense actually is what was a positive in this game. I know it sounds crazy. 37 points, that should not be good. If a defense gives up that many points, you're not going to say that the defense had a good game. But Jake Browning had 3 interceptions in this game. It's going to be what is going to be talked about time and again this season with Joe Burrow being out. Jake Browning has not been producing, simply put. And I want to defend the guy. I really do. But if you look at his stats, he had 251 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He did get them back into this game with a couple passes to Jamar Chase. I will say the one was a very gutsy throw. Triple covered Jamar Chase in the end zone. He forced that pass in. Somehow, some way, that pass gets caught by Jamar Chase. It was unbelievable, honestly. I would not have made that throw. I understand you're in desperation mode and you're just trying to make something happen, but my goodness, that's one of the few times it seemed to work, because all day he was trying that, and more often than not, it was an interception. The one, I don't know where he was throwing it. It was a deep pass and nowhere close to Jamar Chase. It was picked off. That's all I can say. Just frustration. I want to say Jake Browning can be a serviceable backup, but with this offensive line, that's where I'm going to go with it. This offensive line is just, it's not good, folks. I don't know what else to say. Constantly, there was a play at one point. I honestly like the play call when it comes to trying to mix it up. They tried to do a flea flicker, and I'm all for it. Try these kind of plays. Just don't be so one-dimensional. But they run this flea flicker, and Jake Browning is just absolutely destroyed by the time he touches the ball. It comes down to when you have an offensive line that cannot give you time, you become one-dimensional. And that's why I think a lot of the heat that is going to be coming on Zach Taylor with his play calling, it could be a scheme. It could be the offensive line scheme, the way that the blocking zones, whatever it is not working. It's just not working. I understand that Detroit has a very good defensive line. Aiden Hutchinson was just a terror against the Bengals today. It was rough. It was so rough to see. But it does make you one-dimensional. When you don't have time to do plays like a flea flicker, and I know that's a pretty crazy, obscure kind of play call to go with, but you got to try something. You got to do something. Just mix it up. Because if you keep running the same play time and again, any defense is going to catch on. And when you don't have a run game because your offensive line can't open holes, if you can't block long enough to let a play develop, to take deep shots, that's what you're going to get. A bunch of bubble screens, a bunch of dump off passes. That's what you were seeing. So I admire the effort from the play calling, but it's rough. It was so rough to watch them try and to see this offensive line just get roughed up. I think until that gets fixed, unfortunately, I don't see much out of this offense. Big surprise, I know. They haven't been showing that in the last few weeks. This isn't a news flash by any means. The offense has struggled since Joe Burrow went down. Take out the game-winning drive against Jacksonville, they have not shown any kind of ability to compete. And that's what makes this all frustrating. How do you fix that? That's where it comes back to. That this is just way worse than we thought. I'm going to be interested to see the PFF ratings for the offensive line. Watching it, it was brutal. Jake Browning, we can give him flack. He made some poor decisions. He should not be defended for those decisions, but you also have to look into account the game practically ended on a safety. That was just brutal. Absolutely brutal to see a game end that way. I mean, he could have got rid of the ball. I mean, that's where if you want to give a little bit of the blame to Browning on that one, that he should have got rid of the ball, he had no time. The lineman made a move. It was on Dylan Fairchild. He just made a move, and he was in the backfield instantly. That's the kind of pressure that Browning has been seeing. And if that continues, where does this franchise look at? Where are they going to be at? What is the equivalent of, okay, what's the draft pick? They're sitting at 2-3. They're still very much in this, but you got to turn it around. I mean, you're looking at the stats here. It's just not pretty at all. Overall, the team, just look at the stats up and down. They were, if you compare it to the Detroit, they were making actually some opportunities for the Bengals. They had a fumble as a turnover. The defense kept them in that game. I go back to, again, you look at the stat. Are you crazy? What are you talking about? 37 points. They got some timely stops when you're watching this game. Again, they were at 1 point down 11 points. You recovered that onside kick. Get at least a field goal. You are down a score. So that's what the stats aren't telling of the story. For the majority of this game, absolutely, Detroit had this game. They just dominated. They were up 28-3 at one point. It's just like, my goodness. There's just no, what do you think? But the fact that they came back, they actually rallied and came back. But third down efficiencies, they were 4 for 11. It's just not good. Not good. They did, for the most part, you look at the total yards, they were right there with Detroit at 322, a much better showing compared to the Minnesota and Denver games. But what is also going to be under the microscope, if you look at the rushing yards, going back to the rushing, it was a tough day for Chase Brown. Only 8 carries. I'll go back to that. yeah, just what's going on there? I mean, it's the offensive line, but they only gave him 8 carries. P. Ryan actually had the same amount of yards with half the carries. And you might say, well, let's start P. Ryan. There's something more. There's something off going there. I don't know if Chase Brown is trying to hit the holes like he's used to, and those holes aren't there anymore. I don't know. That's something that's going to be under the microscope, though. The simplified version, I would say, if you're saying what is really causing this offensive struggle, it's the offensive line. Plain and simple. Jake Browning has not been good, but that also is kind of a domino effect. When you have a line that can't give you time to develop, what do you do? So they're going to have to rely on their playmakers. It comes back to Jamar Chase. He had a huge day despite the struggles they had. 110 yards, 2 touchdowns. Wide open on the 1 touchdown. Now, that was probably the best play of the game for them. Jake Browning, he made a move and he was wide open. I mean, anybody could hit him on that. I would have been really mad if Jake Browning missed that one. I would be like, you got all the flack on Jake Browning at that point. So that was encouraging to see. But Bengals fans, I feel your pain. This was a tough game. I think we weren't expecting anything big, but the fact that we continue to see this offensive line struggle, I don't know where to begin on how do you fix that. That's the number one thing. But stay tuned. I'm going to be interested to see as more stats come out. We're fresh off of this game. It's going to sting a little bit because they've got a lot to examine. They've got a lot to look at. They are now sitting at 2-3 on the season. You can argue it's not over. They could turn things around. I really do hope they do. But unfortunately, they are not giving a lot of confidence to Bengals fans. 3 straight weeks of poor showings. This was probably their best showing. I mean, at home against Detroit, arguably the best team that they played out of those 3 weeks. But stay tuned. They've got their work cut out for them. They've got a lot to work on. It was still encouraging to see the defense improve, but the special team also struggled at times. There was a few things. One thing I posed to you guys, last play, there was a safety, and there was an unsportsmanlike conduct where Detroit was spotted on the 10-yard line, the Bengals 10-yard line. I missed something because they even seemed like the announcers were trying to make sense of it. Please comment below. Clarify that. If you understand the ruling on that, I think it was still inexcusable that there was an unsportsmanlike conduct on a safety kick. But how it was spotted at the 10-yard line, it was all a moot point, right? The game was over once that safety happened. But please let me know. Enlighten me. I've never seen that happen before, at least with the Bengals for sure, but in any football game I've ever seen, I've never seen it. So please help me out. Comment that below. But also any other comments that you have about this game, please leave your comments below. We'd love to hear from you guys. Just hang in there, Bengals fans. Again, it's not instilling a lot of confidence, but the season is far, far from over. I've seen crazier things happen. I'm going to continue to hold out hope as much as possible. Because with the talent on this offense, if they can just get that offensive line to give whoever is quarterback, Jake Browning, if they decide to go with someone else, there's always a chance. There's always a chance. When you are 2-3, you've still got a chance. Let's hold out hope. But please leave your comments below. And if you have not already, smash that subscribe so you'll be in on when our new videos drop. That's going to do it for now, guys. As we say, Uday.